freshman kid, 6'9" freshman, Jalen Johnson, played at Duke or until like yesterday or today.
You mean he had a cup of coffee at a sweet roll at Duke?
Right. That's about it. I don't even know if he got the sweet roll. He got the coffee. He's played 13 games, average 11.6 rebounds, and he's announced, as Duke has as well, that he's done. His season is over. Now, Duke is very disappointing this year, 8-8. They're not going to make the tournament. But he is announcing that his season is over. He's going to get ready for the NBA. And there is a lot of talk about this. Obviously, a lot of people may not know who he is. He's only played a few games, as I said. College basketball doesn't, have the fanfare that it's had in the past. And even more so this season, just because, with the pandemic and so much. But he is viewed as a lottery pick, or at least he was coming into the season. And we'll see, of course, if that still happens, but certainly a first rounder. And a lot of people, Rob, have been criticizing this kid, saying he's a quitter. And just, a lot of people in the college basketball establishment really taking some shots at him and questioning his decision, maybe his character. What are your thoughts on this thing?
I'd say the people who doing that, mostly because they're hurt because it's a blow to college basketball. It's another blow to tell college basketball that college basketball, hello, Chris, is this on? College basketball is officially dead. It doesn't matter, and a lot of people don't want to hear that, and I get it. What do you mean? Duke, North Carolina, yeah, Syracuse. Remember the Big East, Chris? Remember that? Big East? Now you can find that on Channel 20.
Right. College basketball used to be as big or bigger than the NBA.
I covered college basketball, Chris, in the 80s. And I went to see Patrick Ewing play at the Cap Center, in Landover, Maryland. And I went to the Palestra in Philadelphia. I was all over this country covering college basketball in 1986 and 87. I went to the Ard in Buffalo. I followed Mark Jackson's career when he was at St. John's, and Walter Berry and Bill Wennington, Chris. All those guys.
Willie to the glass.
Yes.
Willie Glass.
And now, these kids are getting into the NBA. They don't have to play. They don't play a minute in the NBA. Or they're Kyrie Irving and played 9 games. Or Weissman played how many games, Chris?
3.
3 games.
This
is why they're coming down on the kid.
Right.
Because this is a black eye to college basketball. Again, this was always a bad idea when they made those kids go to school for 1 year. Everybody has a right, Chris. If your dream is to play in the NBA and you're a prodigy and you go to high school, you could go into the military, you could go play golf, you could go play tennis, you could go be a movie actor at 5 years old. You could do just about anything. You could graduate from college if you're smart enough. And they're telling you that you have to go to college to play basketball. No, you don't. And you know what? If you give up college and you try and you fail, you know what you do, Chris? You do what everybody else does. You go get a regular job. That's what you do. Yeah, that's why they're mad at this kid.
I agree that this is showing the increasing irrelevance of college basketball, because he will still get drafted, most likely in the first round. And it's going to show that, this kid played 13 games in college. By the time it was over, he was playing, I think he's played 8 minutes, Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong, 8 minutes total in the last 2 games. Didn't, wow the college world with his game, but you can see the ability. The kid he's 6'9", got a good body, can handle the ball, has court vision, very good passer, good around the rim. Not much of a shooter, but he is kind of a perimeter player. He's got to work on his jumper, but the talent is there and the potential is there, and he'll get drafted. And like you said, Kyrie Irving played 11 games at Duke, number 1 pick in the draft,
right?
Superstar, future Hall of Famer.
Who can stop him?
James Wiseman, three games. and looks great in Golden State. I love his game. I thought he'd be a perfect fit there, and he has been. How about LaMelo Ball? LaMelo Ball played in Lithuania,
played
Australia.
against janky competition, right, Chris?
Right. And he's eaten up. I mean, that's an overstatement because he's not a star yet, but he looks like he's going to be a star. He looks like he's going to be a star. Right now, he's probably the rookie of the year. And so Ben Simmons, remember, he stopped playing halfway through his season at LSU. They didn't make the tournament.
Right. He was done.
So, yeah, it is things have changed. Now we got the G League, and this will be the first year that they're in right now where you got these kids that, instead of some of them didn't go to college.
Who was that? Jalen Green, right, is the number one.
Paid.
What is the number one prospect? Jalen Green?
Yeah, I mean, they got some hot prospects. So you're right. I do think that the college basketball establishment is upset. This kid's done nothing wrong, okay? I mean, seriously, he's done nothing wrong. First of all, he does have an injury. He's got a foot injury. It's a legitimate injury. They're not going to make the tournament. Stop it with all the, he's quitting on his teammates. Just stop it. Just stop it. They've played 16 games together. The kid, I'm sure he's still friends and got friends on the team, but he was going there to get himself ready for the NBA. That's it. And now he was supposedly, when they played him, they were going to be playing him at the 5, which wasn't going to help his game, wasn't going to help him getting ready for the NBA. So I don't think the kid needs to be or deserves to be criticized and crushed for this. He's an 18, 19-year-old kid, and this isn't the season he signed up for when he decided to go to Duke, because of the pandemic. That's thrown everything into flux. So I think they should give the kid a break. Now, there's some questions about him, Rob, because he's hopped around. He's been at IMG Academy. He didn't play any games there. Then he goes back to his high school in Wisconsin.
Well, Chris, you know what? I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop. Then Duke shouldn't have recruited him and shouldn't have put him on the team. There's his track record. He's consistent.
Yeah, I'm not saying that means he's a bad kid. I'm just saying.
No, but I'm just saying, this is consistent is what I'm saying. This ain't new out of left field, Chris. Right? It's just like the person who marries an alcoholic. And then on their way home, they're surprised that they want them to stop by the liquor store on the way home, right? You already know what you signed up for. The kid's been all over.
Well,
you expected him to be different for you, Chris? Different?
And what the one and done rules done, Rob, is it's you got kids using the colleges. You know this. A lot of them don't even go to class.
I don't blame them. They don't want to go to college. They don't want to go to class.
And you got colleges using the kids for 1 year. And I'm not saying they may not develop some affinity for the kid and really want to help him out, but they're using each other. And this kid saw, this isn't helping me. I came here to get ready for the NBA. This isn't helping me sitting on the bench playing 8 minutes a game or less. No, I'm better off working on what I need to work on and working
with some NBA players, former players, some trainers, Chris, some scouts. What do you need to work on? This is what we're looking at. What does the tryout look like? You know what I mean? The NBA tryout look like. What will I have to do? So you don't go into it where you have no clue. All that stuff, people can help you along the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill the kid for getting himself ready for the next level. We'll see. I hope it works out for him. My hope is that he's good enough. That's what you hope.
But if he's not, Chris, then he'll be like everybody else, though. I'm just saying, right?
I get you. That's real life. But, these kids, this is dream to play in the NBA. You hope he's good enough, because there are situations where if a kid whether he stays in college, stays in the G League, goes somewhere and works on his game, he can develop into a pro player where he may not be as, early as he enters the draft. So hopefully it'll work out for him. But we will see. We want to get your thoughts. Do you have an issue with Jaylen Johnson opting out at Duke with just 3 weeks left in the season?
All right, Thomas in Iowa. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Thomas?
Hey, man, big fan. Thanks for getting me in.
Thank you.
I just got to get my 2 cents. I'll make this short. if you're a championship contender, if you're a team that's trying to rebuild, why would you want to have that toxic person who quit on your team? Why would you want that in your locker room?
Because he's talented.
Right.
It happens all
Simple
the
as
time,
that.
man. That sounds good, and I hear you. That's an unrealistic world that you're living in because people will overlook almost anything if you bring talent to the table. If you can't play, then they can use that against you and they don't want you. But if you can play, we've seen people get second, third, fourth chances doing some pretty bad stuff, but they happen to be able to play ball and they get those chances. That's just the reality.
That's what it boils down to. And also he's a young kid. And some team's going to feel like, we can get him in a good program. And, the concerns about LaMelo going into the draft were his maturity. People were wondering, is he mature enough? And look,
will he be able to take coaching, Chris? He's always had free reins to chuck up balls from wherever he wanted. He played some janky competition, all kinds of stuff. Never mattered if he won or not, right? It was about his stat line. And now look what he's doing. Brad in North Carolina, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Brad?
Fellas, I got to tell you, this is not a college basketball problem. This is an NBA problem. And I'll tell you, 20 years ago or so, when the owners and the general managers couldn't help themselves and they were, the scouting was so bad back then, but they were picking some of these kids that shouldn't have ever been in the NBA. But, so they came up with this one and done thing. Well, what that's done is that's taken some kids that legitimately could have gone into the NBA at 18, and it's forced them to do this college basketball year. And imagine this, if they did away with that, our college system could go back to 4-year seniors. Those guys could work their way through and maybe make it to the NBA after their senior year. But we wouldn't have this one-and-done crap that ends up really destroying college basketball. This isn't college problem. This is NBA's problem.
But wait, Brad,
protect themselves. Yeah.
Brad, how come it's okay to be a tennis pro at 14? How come it's okay to be a golf pro? Michelle Wee was like 16.
Exactly.
How come you can go to
baseball,
Hollywood?
go straight to the minors.
Baseball, you go straight to the minor league, Chris. You're 18 years old. This whole right. This is the NBA never should have put this rule in. It was short-sighted. It made for phony college students who never wanted to be there. And this is what you got. You got to get rid of it. No doubt.
That's
Thanks,
why
Brad.
the G League they view as a potential answer. Because some of these kids are great players, but just not quite ready. And that's what they're talking about with this G League. So I think that could be a good alternative.
Greg in Montana. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Greg?
Hey, love you guys. Hey, thanks for taking my call, man. That guy he made the whole answer for me. It's
go ahead.
problem.
Let's hear your version. Let's do it, Greg, and we appreciate you in Montana.
It's the NBA's problem. The one and done ain't the college problem. The kids want to come out and they think they're ready for the NBA. 19-year-old making $50 million, and then they don't know what to do with it. I'm old school like that guy who just said that. Hey, Larry Bird went to school for how many years? Magic Johnson went to school for how many years?
Magic went 2.
Magic only went 2, right.
Right. And here's the thing. Look, I went to Oberlin College, one of the best schools in the country, spent 4 years there. I wouldn't have known what to do with $50 million. Let's just keep it real.
But I'll tell you this, Chris.
And been rich.
If the New York Times offered me a job when I was a junior at Southern Connecticut State University without my degree, I would have gone to the New York Times, and I would have finished my degree at night. I would have.
Absolutely. That's the hypocrisy of it.
Right.
And you could have. You could have without any negative repercussions.
People would go like, you got a job your second year in college at the New York Times? What? You're a prodigy.
That's where, Rob, I'd like to see, and that's where the kids got damaged because, years ago in the 90s where if they got drafted by the NBA, and we saw some high school kids that went through this, and they just weren't good enough. Maybe they got drafted in the second round, so they didn't have a guaranteed contract, or they got in the training camp and weren't that good. Right. and they wouldn't let him go back to college or go to college, right? You
Which
lost your college eligibility.
was a mistake, and they were punishing the kids instead of allowing them to come back, Chris. You should never – if all right, he tried his dream, it didn't work out, why can't he come back? He didn't get any money, right? He didn't get any money.
Absolutely. So
let's squeeze one more in.
Let those kids go to college.
Nick in South Carolina, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's up, guys? Chris, good to have you back.
Thank you, my man. Somebody appreciates me.
The voice
What'd
of
you
logic,
say?
right?
What'd you say? Somebody wants you
At
back?
least somebody appreciates me being back. My goodness. My partner's killing me. No, but go ahead, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Look, I'm actually, I used to be like the previous two callers, old school, and if you think about it over time, I'm a Carolina guy. Our program has been building teams rather than adopting to the one and done rule. But if you really think about it, college basketball does not need to have one and done players. We need to either get rid of it and just the talent pool who is good enough to go straight to the NBA, have them go. The ones who want to develop, have them go to college, but commit to a 2 to 3 year rule. I think you're going to get a lot more.
Yeah, two years. Either come straight out or stay 2 years. But I just think that you're going to see a lot more kids doing this G League thing. Or I don't know if guys will go overseas. People thought that would catch on years ago.
You know what? All the people, and you probably talked to a lot of guys who played overseas, Chris. The only thing, they love the free money, tax-free and all that.
Right.
But they want to be home in the United States. Nobody wants to really play there. They could tell you all you want, you know what I mean? But they would rather be back home. They just would.
No question about it. And those coaches overseas, you think college coaches run the roost? I mean, those coaches overseas, they really got control. Yeah, so we got our man Jeff Goodman, stadium basketball analyst, in to talk about Jaylen Johnson and more. Jeff, what's happening, brother? Oh,
obviously you said it very quiet.
Jeff, what's happening, my man? Welcome to the Odd Couple.
Man, they're ready to fire Brad Stevens out here in Boston. They're ready to get rid of him, run him out of town.
Man.
Well, can he ante up? He's the boy genius. He's the coach. They signed him to a 19-year contract.
Well, Jeff, is it Brad or is it Danny? Because that team doesn't look nearly as talented as they did even a year ago. I know Marcus Smart is out, so that's hurting them too.
Well, and they don't have a Hayward. Hey, listen, Gordon Hayward is a ball mover. He is. I mean, the one thing they do miss on this team, like Kemba's still not Kemba yet. I know he had a good game the other day, but he's still not himself. And I said, let's wait and judge this team after the All-Star break. But, yeah, listen, right now, they're a disaster. They are an absolute disaster, and they do have two of the top 25, I'd say 30 players in the league. But they miss a guy that can just move the ball. And, I wouldn't have paid Gordon Hayward $30 million. There's no way in hell I would have paid him $30 million for 4 years. Not for 4 years. So I think Danny made the right move there. But ultimately right now, the other part of it, guys, is, and I'm the biggest Brad fan you are going to find because, again, listen, I covered him when he went to 2 national title games from the damn Horizon League at Butler. Clean. He did it clean. The dude can coach, but what I think is missing with Brad is he doesn't have enough MF in him.
Right. And people question, can he handle the Ferraris? He can handle the Hondas, Civics. Now, I know Tatum, you're right. Tatum and Brown are great players. But can he handle the superstar players? He didn't have those guys at Butler, and can he handle them in the NBA?
They don't have a leader, guys. They don't have, Marcus Smart obviously is their vocal, their emotional guy. Kemba, we forget. Kemba doesn't really say much. He's always smiling. He's always happy. Kemba's the best dude in the world. But he's not a vocal leader, and I don't think Jaylen Brown's ready for that, and Tatum's not that either. So, they're kind of missing that, and I think, again, if you put Marcus Smart on this team, they're not going through this stretch. Now, again, they still got a long way to go with or without Marcus Smart, but ultimately they need that guy. They need that leader, that vocal guy they don't have right now.
Jeff Goodman, Stadium basketball analyst, joining us. And I do think the Celtics will improve, but I still think they're the fourth best team in the East, and that's going to be a problem. But let's go to college for a moment. Jalen Johnson, I don't have a problem with what he's done. He does have a legitimate injury. Obviously, his minutes were being cut. They weren't really playing him the way he wanted to be played. It seems like in the college basketball world, he's getting killed, criticized, called a quitter, all that. Tell us about why that's happening. Is it, in your opinion, is it legitimate, or do the people need to lay off this kid?
No, they need to lay off him because it's still his world. It's his decision. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Now, again, the big question I have is it really his decision or our agents telling him and his people what to do here? Because obviously, listen, if he could help Duke win, don't you think Coach K would play him more than 8 minutes? Of course he would.
Right.
Coach K wants to make the NCAA tournament. This is an embarrassment for Duke right now. While they watch, Kentucky and Michigan State struggle, and they're not going to be in the tournament, either one of them, Duke still has a chance. So if K thought he would help, and listen, I said it back in mid-December, guys. There have been issues with Jalen Johnson and Duke dating back to early in the season, and there was a chance that he was not going to return. Like I said, when that foot injury happened, I said, listen, there is more to it. It's not just the foot injury here, guys. It's not. There's more to it here. And he was thinking of opting out way back then. And Duke, honestly, this is a win-win for both at this point. Jalen Johnson is going to protect his draft stock, which was falling, and make sure, again, that he doesn't fall out of the first round at this point, because the more games he had played 5 or 8 minutes, and the last one, Duke played their best game of the season with him playing 8 minutes, and they won. So it's a win for the kid because he's protecting his draft stock. It's a win for Duke because now they've got everybody bought in. This kid had 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door the moment he got there. The other thing, guys, real quick, he arrived on campus on August 20th. Usually kids get there in June. So he didn't have that same kind of bond, the camaraderie with his teammates that people do, especially in this year of a pandemic. They're not out partying. They're not having fun. They're not hanging with each other every night. It's a different deal. So, yeah, I think it's unfair to kill this kid.
How about Chris and I are talking about college basketball as we know it basically being almost dead as far as like with players. We saw Kyrie played, what was it, Chris, 9 or 11 games?
11 games.
LaMelo we're seeing play at all. Wiseman, Melo didn't play, LaMelo didn't play college basketball. And there's now a route where you don't need to play college basketball. Like college basketball is passé.
Yep.
Do you think that's where we're headed? And basically college basketball will be those guys who just don't, maybe not that good enough to be in the NBA, play 4 years, get your jacket, have your senior night, you know what I mean, and then go take a job at Amazon after. Is that where we're headed?
I mean, if Adam Silver wants it to be headed that way, he probably can pay each kid $1 million and get the top 10 kids or try to get them. Now, Kay Cunningham had an offer of $500+, and he chose to play at Oklahoma State. Jalen Suggs had an offer of maybe $300,000-400,000, and he chose to play at Gonzaga. So I think it's different for everybody.
Probably got more at Gonzaga. Oh, sorry.
No, I don't think they don't pay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But I think, listen, the one thing I will say is, does anybody really know who Jalen Green is? Do you know who Isaiah Todd is? Have you ever heard that name?
No, I mean, you're right. You're going to have more publicity in college basketball because, you got 2 of the top prospects in as you mentioned, Jalen Green in the G League. We're not going to hear about him till he gets to the NBA. So you are right about that. And those kids that are drawn to that, I guess they'll go to college still.
And the other thing, guys, is remember next year, hopefully, who knows what's going to happen here, but you're going to have name, image, likeness come in, and these kids are going to be able to make something. Now, hopefully there won't be guardrails like the NCAA says there are going to be, and these kids are going to be able to get whatever the market value is, and the market will eventually correct itself. Like Terrence Clark this year at Kentucky is a great example, guys. He would have made a lot of money. With Jalen Johnson, they would have made a good amount of money. Worth their investment? Hell no. They didn't do anything. Their teams lost, and they didn't do anything this year. So the market will correct itself, but I think ultimately with name, image, likeness coming in next year, I think at least the gap will close a little bit to whereas it's not $500,000 for Jalen Green or zero in some cases. We know not everybody's clean in college basketball, but some are. So the gap will close is all I'm saying.
Last thing about Jaylen Johnson, he's got a history of bouncing around all over the place. IMG Academy, his high school in Wisconsin. Is there something there? You know, what's kind of going on with all that? What's the story there?
Easier. It's just easier, right? It's easier to leave your team at Duke when you've already left multiple teams in high school. And these kids see it, whether it's leaving, bouncing around in high school programs or transferring in college, like a lot of these kids these days are transferring up levels, right? They see one kid is successful. You know, Carlik Jones goes from Radford to Louisville. Other kids in the Big South or at that level see Carlik Jones do it, and they think, well, if he did it, and he's averaging the same numbers at Louisville in the ACC, I can do the same thing. Well, it's the same thing in high school. You know, this kid's bouncing around here because the grass is greener, so then other guys start to bounce around. And it's become a lot worse than it was when I first, jumped into recruiting back in the late 90s. That wasn't really the case. I mean, you were at your high school, and you pretty much stuck it out at your high school for the most part.
Yep.
Is that going to hurt him in the draft? People thinking that's his character?
You know what will hurt him? Hurt him in the draft? That he doesn't play hard most of the time yet, and that he can't shoot it.
Right.
He's big, he's strong, he's athletic. He has some great games, and he can pass it. But until he can shoot the ball, and until he shows that he plays hard consistently, those are the things that are going to hurt him. But listen, NBA guys, you know that. They don't care if you go to 10 high schools. They don't care.
Right.
Can you play? Can you play? Can you help them? Like LaMelo Ball told me years ago, no interest in going to college. Zero. Do you think that matters to the NBA? No. Look at him now.
Right.
He's proven
like
me wrong to some degree. Yeah, he still can't shoot consistently, but man, is he fun to watch. And again, I always knew he had the passing ability and the court vision, but you know what? I didn't know that his teammates would love playing with him as much as they do.
I hear you. Jeff
right.
Goodman, Stadium
Jeff,
Basketball
thank you, buddy.
Analyst.
We
Great
appreciate
stuff,
you.
man.
Take care, guys.